Hello, everybody. It's Alessandro from Innovate with Impact, hashtag small relief. I'm here today with Kevin Schawinski from Modulus. Hey, Kevin, how's it going?
Hey, Alessandro, glad to be here.
Very nice to have you. So we have known each other through the Innosuisse network, and I've worked with each other through that. And I'm very excited to have you here today. But before we get going, if you don't mind, please, briefly introduce yourself and Modulus and what you have been up to.
Great. So my background is quite academic. I used to be an astrophysicist, and I started working with who is now my co-founder, Tze Zhang, who's a computer scientist who's interested in systems for machine learning. We started working together to bring machine learning technology to scientific research. And we almost immediately hit some roadblocks because the technology was very difficult to use. But the challenges that we ran into were not the sort of big conceptual scientific issues. They were much more mundane, much more lower level issues that the computer scientists, of course, didn't expect. And so we identified this as a major problem. Like if masters and PhD level astrophysicists can't use these tools, maybe they're at the, what we now describe as the wrong level of abstraction. Mm-hmm. So our idea very quickly grew that machine learning itself should be at a lower level, right? So you as the user should no longer be someone who says, I'd like to take a neural network and I'm going to change these layers. I'm going to run the following experiments. I'm going to tinker with it for a couple months and then maybe I'll get a better performance. And that's the old arts and crafts way of doing data science, of doing machine learning. And the way we see machine learning is really as somebody who's a user, somebody who's not an expert in data science, who says, I need a prediction. I need an image classification. I need some sophisticated task. And I actually don't care about the details. I really care that the performance is good, that the score is good. And that's how the idea for Modulus was born. And so that's what we're building, a true automated machine learning system that somebody who isn't a data scientist can use to generate state-of-the-art AI models.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for this introduction. And, as you know, from the first moment we started, meeting and discussing, I've been extremely impressed by the things that you have done, and you have surrounded yourself with an amazing team. So, congratulations on that. Maybe we can dive a little bit deeper into this. So how has this whole situation and, all the changes that have happened in the past weeks, how has it affected you guys?
So the change was very strange for me to process and think about, because it's not a conventional change in the economy. It's an exogenous shock that is very, very much a tail probability. So we basically see everyone around us not being prepared for it either, and trying to cope with it in various ways. And that doesn't just go for companies, it goes for governments, goes for society. And so we thought about this for a while, and we realized that at the moment where everyone is readjusting, there isn't much we can do. Like, we can't radically change our strategy. We cannot, we cannot massively accelerate or decelerate our process. And so we realized we essentially got some time during which actually the best thing for us to focus on is development. And that's what we've done so far. So we hunkered down, and we started writing more and more code. And that's how we used the crisis so far. And so now we're keeping our eyes open, keeping our ears tuned to see when the first, signs of increasing activity reappear, and we want to be ready for that.
Mm-hmm. How do you, so I mean, obviously you're active in artificial intelligence in a very digital environment. So how do you think the opportunities are going to open up again? Do you think people will go back to kind of normal, or is it, how are your, the companies that you are working with or want to work with, how is it going to affect them, and how can you potentially help them as well?
So I think nobody knows for sure. I mean, clearly work from home, work distributed has become essential now. This means new challenges for data security, because without the data, machine learning is useless. So we have a very strong focus on not taking the data of people, of companies to us, but rather bringing our software to them so that they can run their processes in their secure environment. But that, of course, brings new challenges as that becomes more widespread, becomes more strict as people build up new systems. And we're eager to learn and see how people implement, their data process, their data science process in this new, much more distributed environment.
Super interesting. Do you have any advice or anything that you want to share with your partners, with other companies, anything that you would like to, put out there?
I mean, I don't think I have any good advice in particular, because, what do I know more than anyone else in this situation? It is very much a tail event. I've tried very hard not to overreact to indicators, right? Because the news changes from day to day. The situation changes from day to day. You might get a total reversal on maybe a potential customer or a potential partner saying, like, oh, no, let's go ahead. Or no, we've now stopped everything. It's like, don't overreact to that. And so the machine learning analogy to that would be, don't overfit to the situation. Use some regularization, which is really the sort of slight distancing from the day-to-day to try and get a better sense of what the bigger trend is.
No, this is something that I've seen come up throughout most of the interviews that I've done in the past couple of weeks, and you really see, I also strongly believe that now is the time to really, explore, or, really go back in there and figure out what it is that you can do next. I see a few people that are kind of like taking a step back, and they're like, I think there's nothing wrong with taking a step back, but I think there's a difference between taking a step back and then also just like saying, okay, this is an opportunity, let's see what we can do next, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I don't mean to imply that you should go to the other extreme. I think the temptation to overreact in the moment is always higher than the other, and at least for me. So I'm more focused on preventing myself from that. But of course, your mileage may vary, and people who have a different temperament might be more have a bigger problem avoiding the other extreme. That may very well be.
Absolutely. Everybody reacts differently. That's part of being human.
Yes.
Coming to the last question, which is actually a perfect fit to that what we're just talking about. What's the first thing that you're going to be doing once the lockdown ends and you can start roaming the streets freely again?
So I do a sport which involves being close to lots of other people, as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which of course right now is totally impossible for very good reasons. So I really look forward to get back to training, get back on the mat.
I can totally understand that. There's so many things that we can do again once we get out of this lockdown situation. Well, Kevin, we're at the end of our interview. That only leaves me to, thank you for your time. And, I've, like I said a couple of times in this interview, I've been extremely impressed by your work. And I cannot wait to see what's next for Modulus. I think you and your team will go very far. And I personally look forward to seeing you again very soon in person.
Thanks for your kind words, Alessandro. Thank you.
Sure. Talk to you soon, Kevin.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.